Hello friends, how are you this morning? I hope you're doing well. I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold this camera like this anyway. I am coming to you with a video that I wanted to make last night, but it was just so pitch black that I could not do it. But I wanted to talk to you about one of my latest Tumblr posts. And it is not a poem. It's just like I do these little things where it's just like dark world moments. And in it, I make a reference to something called Star Whackers. And that is a reference to something that an actor named Randy Quaid said many, many years ago. It was about 15 years ago. He basically had a story where he was in some sort of business transaction, something that was very business minded, and someone made a veiled threat on his life. And he found that to be very peculiar, so much so that he wanted to speak out on it. And this was about 15 years ago. And this stood out to me because Randy Quaid has been in the business for, at that point, it was over 30 or 40 years. So for him to have had an interaction like that just 15 years ago and have it be so terrifying to him that he wanted to speak out on it stood out to me. And here we are now 15 years later, and there have been a lot of celebrities who have passed away for reasons that were not natural causes. And they weren't accidents and things like that. They were actually had their lives taken by someone else. And the four people that I posted in the piece were Nipsey Hussle, Pop Smoke, Gene Hackman, and Rob Reiner. Now, what do all four of these people have in common that would connect them to the industry and have their lives be at risk at all? Assets. All of these men have industry-made money that perhaps is going to places that somebody does not like. Now, there are a lot of different elements to this. There are spiritual elements to this, because a lot of times these people are in very intimately with some very dark energies. And at different levels of fame and money, each one of these men were. Pop Smoke was very, very new money. Nipsey Hussle was like mid-range. And then we get to Gene Hackman and Rob Reiner, where this is generational wealth. And the assets, where they're going, the heirs, all of that becomes very, very important the more generational the wealth is. And I remember thinking, oh my God, how many heirs does Rob Reiner have? They better watch out. That's kind of crazy. But that's what they all have in common. And you can even look at people like Selena, who it was financial. It was about money. It wasn't about anything other than assets and things like that. And there's so many times where a person, a star, will get whacked, will lose their life because of money, because of somebody wanting to have control over their assets, over their inheritance, over their future. And they're threatened to the inch of their life with this all of the time. And sometimes they lose their life to this. And it's a real thing. The stars do get whacked by, like the devil takes many forms. And it is something that really needs to stop. People need to stop valuing money over people's lives. And that is what this is all about. And each one of these situations is very unique, and you're going to hear a story about what is going on, and then the real story is actually what is going on. But I just wanted to say that just because these things are often very confusing because they're spiritual. When you take somebody's life, it's a spiritual thing. It's just a very interesting thing. But these four men, just to use their lives and their passings as an example, are really interesting to take a deep dive, especially Rob Reiner, because he has just recently passed. So as that story unfolds, that will get more interesting as well. And Gene Hackman, because we don't know exactly what happened there other than the spiritual element to it. Oh, and one more thing that I wanted to say about this situation is going forward, a lot of the things that you're going to hear about these players in the dark world, what they have done is all about money and assets. Everybody from the person in my family who did all of this about the inheritance to all of these people who are willing to commit or facilitate actual murder And as a person with star-like energy, who a group of people have been trying to literally take my life for years, I know that this kind of energy exists. And it is really about assets, because this is about the amount of money that I can make without them having control over it. When they saw my work, they were in love with it, but they knew in their hearts that I could not be bought and sold. So they set out to ruin my life instead. And they want to ruin the whole bloodline. That's why they attack the family lineage. And that is exactly what they did to my family. 2 people ended up murdered. I don't know what was going on, but whatever it was facilitated by this energy. And it is really kind of dark and disturbing, but it is true that people would behave so inappropriately, so just in a heathen way over money, because that's what all of this is about. These people over and over again lose their lives. And at the end of the day, it's about money. And you will be surprised when the names come out of the amount of people who actually lost their lives. And it was really just a money thing. It had nothing to do with their actual life force. And that is disturbing, but that is just something that has to come out when the truth is told. And so it will come out soon. And we will stay tuned for more. Okay, now I'm done. Love you, bye.